Welcome to week 2 of our Lenten series on hope. We hope that last week provided a starter, an intro to our discussion about how we lean into hope during a time of year where typically we're more about repenting and reflection. But this year's different. And so we're leaning into hope. And so in our second week here, we're looking at this passage from Isaiah. The context is it's what's known as Second Isaiah, and the Israelites find themselves at the end of the Babylonian exile. And what happens next? They're still wondering, where do they go? God, where are you? And so we get this passage which is hope-laden, leaning forward, reminding us that when times are the toughest, hope seems to shine brightest. We talked about that in week 1. We're going to transition now to hear from Marty Hills, where she has a couple stories about hope and her life.
Brother Jimmy was a pilot, and he was shot down on March 21st, 1945. Landed on a farm field, and we were a missing in action family for 4 years, which was very tough on all, mother and daddy and my younger brother and me. In later years, but they found that this farmer had buried my brother, but luckily he buried him with his ID. It was very meaningful to me, because at my brother's grave, and a lady from Belgium came up to me and said, "Thank you for the loss of your brother, and thank you for what you've done for our country," which was a true act of kindness. We came back to the United States. The Random Act of Kindness is worldwide. And I called and asked them if they would like Hudson, Ohio to have a Random Acts of Kindness group. And they said they would love it. So that's how it all began.
So if in these Random Acts of Kindness, of which you have seen so many, has that act created hope that you've seen in other people?
I can't tell you how many people have made a comment about when other people are kind to them, how much it helps them through either a problem or happiness. Just knowing that other people care. It's very uplifting and very heartwarming. Once you experience it, you pass it on.
Our beloved Bob, your truly beloved Bob, died just a few weeks ago. And I was so inspired by your hopefulness through it all. And it's interesting to me, often people find hope in the places you'd least expect it. And I wonder if you can say a little bit about how were you hopeful?
You love God, and you know that Bob is with him. And that gives me some peace.
As much as you're the one who brought random acts of kindness to us, you are not random. You are an act of kindness, and you bring hope to me. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Marty, you've always been an inspiration to me. Since I first learned about your bringing acts of random kindness to Hudson, and the story of your brother, and then watching you in your care, your love for Bob, and how you were always so hopeful throughout that whole journey and beyond. Hope often found, as Steve mentioned, in the hardest of times. Did you see, for me, I think about what brings me hope. Well, Marty brings me hope in the way she lived, but did you read that story coming out of Ukraine just a few days ago about that wedding, that young couple, 2 Ukrainians, hadn't seen each other since the beginning of fighting in Ukraine. and they got together this past weekend to get married. The bride and the groom both fighting for the survival of their country, in fatigues, and yet the bride with a veil, the one thing that looked wedding-like, and all the people there also in fatigues. Why did that bring me hope? To see the joy in their faces, to see them committed to living out love. Even when the future was uncertain, they were certain that there was something greater, that love always prevailed. They were filled with such hope, even in a situation that many see as hopeless. That brings me such incredible hope, living into the future of what they dream of. What brings you hope?
Under Armour. There was a boy Sunday in first grade that I talked with after church in the fellowship hall. Coffee hour, first time in 2 years, and he had this Under Armour shirt, and I asked him about the cinnamon rolls, and he lit up, and it was just this beautiful, wonderful opportunity to see folks again. And then I was up in confirmation in the youth room, and there were about 20 of us sitting there, and we could see folks unmasked, smiling back at me for the first time, literally in years. And that brought me hope. I don't know what brings the two of you hope.
I had such mixed emotions on Sunday. For the first time in 2 years, we had a full congregation at 10 o'clock. And there we were for the first time really unmasked as well. And I loved it. I loved seeing all those people, their faces, hearing the choir, hearing the singers of the hymns. And yet it was a little strange for that first time to be in the midst of that many people in that situation. It's still in the pandemic. And then I think about also, here we are in the midst of this conflict in Ukraine. And there's a little bit of a sense, it's not the same. We're not in exile here in Northeast Ohio. But what does it mean in that time of feeling like a lot has been ripped away? And then to find those moments of hope. And in Fellowship Hall, seeing the people just smile. It was pretty amazing.
So what brings you hope? Is it a chance to see people together? Is it the kindness of strangers? What in your life, what stories, what experiences bring you hope? That's what we would like you to consider as you go into your time together with your group. Where is that strength of the Lord that brings you hope? And as you go, let us join in prayer. Oh, our God of hope, our strength, the one who helps us to walk, to not grow weary, to run and not be fatigued. As we join in our conversation together, may your Spirit stir within us. May we tap into that great holy hope that you have available for each and all, no matter our circumstances in life. The hope that is with us from birth until death and beyond. We are so grateful, God. We are so grateful that in the midst of all that is, that we have a chance to stop and look for the hopeful, to see you in our lives around us. Thank you for gathering us together, and bless us in our conversation. Amen.